Hello, I'm APX Toycat, and good news everyone, the trial chambers are officially available on the Bedrock version of the game via the latest beta. Alongside the trial spawners, the breeze, and the trial keys, we can now experience most of the features from this update on the Bedrock version via the betas and previews, which is fun by itself, but they have been implemented in slightly different ways that we'll have to dive into today, alongside the massively increased realms render distance, definitely the best feature in this update, but also now that this is on Bedrock, we can use a Bedrock exclusive command to show something very interesting about trial chamber spacing that is exactly to the opposite of what YouTubers have been saying about them, and I think that is all very interesting stuff that we'll talk about via the 1.20.60.20 beta. This is a beta for Minecraft 1.21, and the fact that they moved on from 1.20.50 means that we should be expecting that update in the next few weeks, so very interesting news there. But what we can also expect is a very different 1.21, because they have referenced already just themselves, there's quite a few parity breaks between Java and Bedrock. So this is the Breeze, this is his spawn egg. If you've never seen it, it's a very, very interesting thing in my opinion. But if you look at the Breeze spawn egg, you'll notice that when you spawn him in, he won't have non-jump movement in combat, he won't deflect projectiles, and he doesn't avoid trapdoors. So the fact that they implemented the same mob with the exact same model, but slightly different ways is very interesting, right? But also it's interesting that they implemented the exact same trial chamber, and looking around it, it will look exactly the same as its Java equivalent, which is impressive to me. I've been playing around with this so much on Java that it's actually kind of cool to see it on Bedrock, but it will, of course, have some very interesting, unique, exclusive problems. So one of these are the fact that it has the loot being wrong and the items in wrong quantities, and then it's got the same issues that Java has, such as aquifers, deep dark, and lush cave blocks intersecting with it. Also, there are floating glow lichens, and so just a fun fact right here, remember to glow, lichen, and subscribe. This is a very weird thing. But also, it's a weird thing not to subscribe to channels that you like on the internet, and those same channels can tell you about things like the poison skeleton spawner, which currently spawns regular skeletons. Also, if you look a little closer at it, you can see the not only does it not spawn the poison arrow skeleton, which tells me that either they couldn't get it working, or maybe they're just going to skip straight ahead to whatever the eventual poison skeleton model will be. We've shown off this in videos before to prove a point, but we don't know exactly what a poison skeleton model would look like, but it is very likely it will have its own model. Will it be the one from Minecraft Dungeons? Will it be something new? Probably something between the two, and probably the latter, but we'll have to wait and see. But also something that's interesting is the fact that, yeah, we have a brand new update, and it has the same trial key, but it still has no functionality. There are no more hints about what its functionality could be either, which, personally, I just really want to know as someone who's wanting to get to the bottom of this mystery. It's like, okay, there's a snapshot coming later today. Maybe that will give us the answers, but we'll have to wait and see for now. Speaking of things we'll have to wait and see, there is a new crafter texture. I think it's interesting. Do you like the new crafter texture? I felt like the old one was fine. I like the new one too. Personally, I still kind of see a Ninja Turtle here, although it looks a lot more like a bird now. Do you think it's meant to look like a bird? Also, they updated the tough brick texture, so it's the right way up, or if you liked it the other way up, it's the wrong way up, I guess you could say. And yeah, it's worth mentioning, we're going to dive into the weird Bedrock exclusive quirks of world gen and the way it generates, because I've been doing a little bit of diving into the actual structures themselves to see if they were any different, but I'll do that right after we talk about the increased realm render distance, because if you like birds like me, then you might like to see things that are far away, and so you might need a Minecraft realm with increased render distance, and so let's go there now. Preview realms is something fun and new that they're trying right now, which means that if you have a regular Minecraft realm subscription, you can bring that over to the preview for no additional cost, effectively having a second paired realm that you can try out all of the new preview features on. Here is me doing it for the first time myself, solely so I can see this new higher render distance, which they've just brought in, but for now, fetching realm information, setting it up. Oh, and we're just jumping right into it, are we? Well, I wasn't expecting this, but let's see what the increased realms render distance looks like.
The very next evening.
It's been 3 minutes and the realm has not loaded up, so I'm gonna assume it's broken. Okay, this is hard to say without a side-by-side comparison, but this really does look quite incredible. From where I'm standing right now, it looks actually playable. For real comparison, 20 chunks is about what you can play with on a decent console, or at least a mid-range console at this point, and so to get that on your realms by default everywhere that you go is incredible. Honestly, at this point, it's worth mentioning something which never came up when realms render distance was 10 chunks, but might come up now. If you're playing on a device with with more than 20 chunks render distance, you are limited by the realms cap. However, you can bring this down if you want to, and so if I really feel like it, I can bring my render distance all the way down to 5 chunks, and the realm will oblige. It won't won't force you to use a higher render distance, and indeed it doesn't offload the computations onto a server somewhere. And so if you want to play Minecraft Realms still like it used to be, this is a pure upside because you can just lower your render distance anytime you like, but now you have the ability to actually see things when they're further away. It's game changing, right? So for a fun comparison, here's what it looks like at 12 chunks of render distance. When you're roaming around your world with an Elytra or in creative mode, it can be tricky to actually see what you're flying towards. I find it so easy to be lost on this level of render distance, but with the new level of render distance, you can actually see stuff that is way further away than you would expect. It's still not as great as the absolute ideal dream would be. If I'm being honest with you, my dream would be that your render distance should be the limiting factor. If you want to have 100 chunks of render distance, that's something that Minecraft should be cautious of. But within the confines of you are paying for a server and Minecraft has to pay for all of the bandwidth that you're using, they're effectively using more than double as much bandwidth, because 12 to 20 chunks might seem like it's effectively just a doubling, but because of the circle rule, it's actually the radius of the circle has gone up by pi r squared. Basically, you've got way more than double the number of chunks loaded in, which is a big improvement for Minecraft to have. I am a big fan of this, and I do have to say, Realms is getting better all the time, and yeah, it's really fun that Corner Hard tweeted saying like, yeah, 10 to 12 chunks is a real good change. 12 to 20 chunks is so much bigger and so much more exciting. Speaking of things that are exciting, let's get into the rest of this 1.21 beta, because it is 1.20.60.20, so 1.20.50 is now most likely finished and releasing in the next week or two, but this also seems to mean they're working on brand new changes, and indeed we got a leak from a data miner which suggests that right now they have just put in the first lines of code relating to the armadillo. It is currently an alpha test, if this is to be believed, but they are now working on some of these additional fun pieces, and indeed when you look at the world generation and see trial chambers that are at Bedrock or even below it, you can see that they're very much not ready to ship this. And that's not just because of weird structure collisions. I personally like this. I've shown this off a couple of times. I think it genuinely adds to the trial chambers and adds to the lore of the place when you can find one of these around. Jingly jangly. I think it's a really cool, people really liked my community post I did recently where I showed off how this actually almost looks like a natural entrance from the big amethyst chamber to the thing. However, the parts of this that show that it clearly does need some work, and that's not a mystery, this is a beta and preview, it's specifically here for the work, is this one about dead ends, because literally the first trial chamber that I loaded up had this kind of a design. It's got that long kind of corridor element to it, and the interesting thing about this area, as you can see, it's got 1 hallway, 2 hallway, and 3 hallway, which is somewhat normal, until you look at the top of them and you realize this ends nowhere, and this does actually go somewhere. This one ends nowhere by mistake, it clearly looks like, but this one looks like it ends nowhere by design, almost. Why are there blocks on this side of it, but not the rest? I've got a lot of questions about the trial chambers, and I don't think I'm ever going to have some of them answered, but what I can answer in today's video is the question about this room right here. I mentioned in my All Rooms video that I felt like this was likely to be the big end room. This was going to be a vault door that you could maybe unlock with the trial key. I still think that's a fun idea, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. But a lot of people suggested that maybe because this is the friendliest room in the entire trial chambers, that actually instead of being an end room, instead of being a big end chamber, this is actually the entrance, and that's the way you come in from the outside world. And so what makes that so interesting is this also does not have a proper connection to whatever it's going to be, and that this also has the same 3x3 room that isn't connected to anything. To my mind, I think this means that I was going from like on the edge 50-50, this could be entrance, could be exit, to now I'm slightly starting to think, no, this isn't going to be an entrance, because what entrance could you possibly have over here that makes sense? Think about it. Even if you have a grand entrance room over here, when you dig down and find this thing, you're just as likely to find any other part of the trial chambers, so it doesn't really need an entrance. I mean, a stronghold has an entrance, but how much does it really affect you? A abandoned mineshaft might have an entrance. For the sake of this, let's pretend that it does. Would you ever know if it exists or not? And the answer is probably no. But anyway, now that we're on the Bedrock version of the game, we can actually test a few other things about this, because someone, I remember so many YouTubers were saying when this first came out, oh, they're so common, they're too common almost, you just find them all the time, but Bedrock actually allows you to see the nearest trial chambers to you that isn't the one that you're on. So this is a command that's called locate structure and then true. If I want to locate my nearest village, let's say, we have to type in structure, my nearest village is just 97 blocks away. That is actually surprisingly close, but if I want to locate the nearest village I haven't been to, I type in /locate and then true, and it tells me that one is 424 blocks away. If I then went to that village, it would tell me the next nearest village village that I haven't been to yet, and this is really handy because it lets you actually work out how far apart structures are. We are in a trial chambers right now, how far to go until the next trial chambers, and you know, you might be surprised to learn that it's not 100 blocks like some people might be saying. It's actually 1,444 blocks away, at a very even amount actually, 2448, 2448. And that coordinate, by the way, takes us to whatever is meant to be the measuring point of this structure, which is currently just a big pillar of tough bricks. What is that meant to be? Why is it surrounded on all sides? Where is this? Is there... Actually, you know what? Does this take us to the entrance room? That would be pretty telling. No, it doesn't. This seems to be the true origin of the structure, and so the entrance room being over there doesn't, you know, I've downgraded it from being like, yeah, it's probably more likely to be not, to, I don't actually think that is an entrance room now, if this is how the structure starts generating, but we'll leave that to the side for now, and we'll go to the next trial chambers I haven't been to, and wow, that's 548 blocks away. This next trial chamber is interesting because it shows off the lush cave bug that it's inherited from Java, but also it shows off the fact that, like, basically anywhere you would mine into to get to this entrance room might lead you into another part of the trial chambers first. And so, again, just to kind of talk a little bit of theory right now, but about the structure itself, even when we're here, if we were to locate another one, it would say that it's 382 blocks away. Okay, that actually does seem incredibly close. I had to go 2,000 blocks for my first one, and then almost 1,500 blocks my second one. But either way, here we are. This is an abandoned mineshaft trial chambers. Honestly, you know, there's some real wacky things that seem to be happening with these trial chambers. It might be worth spending a little bit of time goofing around with this. But for now, the important thing to say is that they're not as close by as you might think, because if we go trying to find another one, it's 1,071 blocks away, so you might have to go, depending on where you are in your Minecraft world, well over 1,000 blocks to find one of these, and that sounds like very little when you're on the surface, but first of all, 1,000 blocks is 1,000 blocks. It's a kilometer, 1,000 meters. But even more crazy than that, this is below the surface. You have no idea when you're standing above one of these things, and unless there's some way to locate these that they add later, there is not going to be a way to locate them. And so that is something very crucial to mention. This is going to feel like a rare structure, even if they make it 4 times as common as it currently is. And so, yeah, unless you're using a seed and know exactly where they are, unless you're using chunk base and are very familiar with your local trial chambers, this is something that is crazy, and about as crazy as you're going to get. Actually, this one seems to have spawned coincidentally below a village, and the one earlier was below a village. Maybe there's a link there. Or maybe, indeed, all we can say for this is that the trial chambers is a fun structure, and it's not quite as common as you're probably thinking, and so keep that in mind. A lot of YouTubers and a lot of people on the internet are using hyperbole to say this is way too common, but in the experience, it's actually a very far distance apart, and we have proof of that with the handy-dandy Bedrock command. But also what we have proof of is the fact that Bedrock has a lot of rough edges that need to be ironed out. They're also true on Java, but as far as what we're going to be seeing, it's a lot of updates to the trial chambers just to fix it, just to stop the structure collisions. But then finally, we have the room, which since it's on Bedrock as well, clearly does have some extra use. Is it a key room? Is it an entrance room? Is it possible, I think even, that it's something unrelated to both? Yes, of course, anything's possible in the world of Bedrock previews and Java snapshots. But yeah, with the rest of the update, they do have to iron it out. They have to work on a lot of things. The poison skeletons, I think, is an interesting tidbit that probably shows that they are going to be just introducing a brand new texture. They're just waiting to release that, because an important thing about how they're releasing the snapshots and betas this year is rather than crowding out too much into one update, they're trying to do it every couple of weeks, something new to keep the hype cycle going, something I think is a good move. I think a lot of people say Mojang's lazy when they haven't seen a new feature for 4 or 5 weeks, and so instead of just having a bunch come at once, then nothing, and then a bunch come at once, it helps with people's perception of the update to have it all come in there, as long as they're actually delivering quality features. So as far as our answer to the breeze rod, as far as our answer to other things like this, we're going to have to wait and see, it seems. Anyway, yeah, with that said, I hope you have all enjoyed this video so far. If you have, then consider liking it and letting me know. Later, there'll be a snapshot, and I might be checking out if there's anything big and exciting related to the stuff in there. And also, I'll be live streaming. Now that the trial chambers are on Bedrock, I can play with them in my caveman world if I just switch over to the beta, which you better believe I'll be doing for the sole opportunity to finally build with copper an actual real survival Minecraft in quantities I could only dream of before. It's going to be a lot of fun, and so join me there tonight. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.